56 seconds of logos. Guys, I thought all night about what would improve this logo, and have come to the conclusion that once we add this period, it's gold. Reading. Also, movie begins with poetry quotes or song lyrics that I have no chance of deciphering in relation to this film and will totally forget by the time it vanishes from the screen cliché. Movie was apparently shot with the hope that you'd watch it through a Viewmaster. Seeing this car driving slowly past this house makes me think we're about to watch strangers pray at daylight with 125% more snow. This movie never tells us the important things, like what grade young Lee got on her life cycle of a butterfly presentation. Alright, I will just walk out in the snow to this spot and zoom. Also, why did Longlegs park all the way out here? It's not like he's trying to do anything in secret. Okay, so I took a rudimentary camera class in college, and one of the things I was taught early on was a term called headroom. So, let's say you want to frame a shot with a person in it. Well, you'd frame it so that there's a little room above the head so that the frame doesn't cut any part of it off. You also don't want too much headroom. Anyway, cutting off part of the head registers as weird to the viewer.
It seems I wore my long legs today.
Roll credits. Dividing a movie that's barely over 90 minutes into named parts.
All right, kids. This is the part where you get to do the things the grown-ups don't want to do anymore.
I'm not sure how all of them eating salads is going to help the investigation, but you do you, FBI.
FBI!
Is this what you're taught at the FBI? To go to houses where you're merely looking for information, knock aggressively on the door, and yell, FBI! Is this what you're taught at the FBI? To lean up against windows when there's a guy with a gun inside?
Don't move.
I won't.
But why? Why did he murder Fisk and just give up and surrender to Lee? Does he know she's the main character in this story? Also, this is not Longlegs, as we were being set up to believe, which means the scene is only in the movie to establish Lee's gnarly psychic powers that quite honestly are barely used after this. What is weird is they would have found this guy anyway, since they were knocking on doors in the area. The real power is the FBI's uncanny ability to assign psychics to the correct neighborhood.
Camera, table, legs, tiger.
Excitement?
You a baseball fan, Harker?
No, sir.
I need to talk to someone about my beautiful Mariners.
Are you a baseball fan or even a sports fan in general? Because who refers to their team as the beautiful whatevers? Also, this is 1994, the Mariners aren't beautiful, and this is the year baseball players went on strike.
Family of 4 lived in that house for 12 years. 2 months ago, they all get murdered inside.
So wait, are they staking out a house where murders happened 2 months ago? I guess they're hoping Lee will have some sort of vision while they're here, but why not park closer? Why not actually go in the house? You can't tell me that someone bought this house within 2 months of a murder. Also, the idea that they brought Lee into this and didn't let her look at any of the case files is all kinds of stupid. So Agent Carter's story here feels like it's more for the audience than it is for Lee, and I don't like it.
I'm telling you, she's not ready for this.
You got a better idea, Browning, then you can run with it.
She may not be ready for this, but maybe you shouldn't be talking about her while she is in the car with you. Nothing says your serial killer movie is set in the 1990s more than hanging a framed picture of Bill Clinton and painting the office's Silence of the Lambs brown.
All the victim families have daughters whose birthdays are on the 14th of any given month.
Weird. I have a daughter whose birthday is on the 14th, but I won't give this any thought whatsoever until it's too late. Also, they could just go through the birth records of the areas where the killings are taking place and find families with young daughters born on the 14th and try to assess which of those families could be potential victims, right? But they don't do that. Instead, rely on an agent who might be psychic 50% of the time.
Get to work.
Isn't part of that file on the murder board? Does she not need any of that information too? Lee gets to work in the room that I'm pretty sure was the place where the office had their meeting earlier in the movie, and I find it extremely weird that they have a giant room with no furniture except for some cheap school chairs where you can turn the whole area into your own personal evidence workspace. This newspaper article subhead, which is somehow positioned over the actual headline, refers to 5 bodies being unearthed when the first paragraph of the article details a family of 4. And if that subhead is somehow about another story, then its positioning is extremely poor. Also, I have no idea what 34 pages in 2 sections or bend or mean, and I'm also very upset at the way this newspaper displays the day's date. It is not possible that all this material was in that file folder.
Go ahead, Harker.
I'd like you to tell me something you know about this serial killer, but let's be sure to sit in a bar awkwardly on separate couches so that you can loudly tell me all the bloody details in public. Also, I get the sense Agent Carter constantly refers to Lee as Harker and positions himself like this because he loves his wife and he wants to keep a professional distance and he doesn't want to show any hint of impropriety. It's a detail that I love, but I will also sin because I sin more than I love.
Well, there's no signs of forced entry. In fact, forensics says there's no indication he was ever in the house at all.
Wow, that is really fast.
Longlegs would have to be inside the house to use the shotgun, the knife, the hammer. But according to physical evidence, he never is.
Yeah, but hear me out. Have you ever heard of gloves?
Manson had accomplices. His family.
You think Longlegs has help?
We will find out he does, but if there's no forensic showing anyone else in the homes, then why would she think he had an accomplice?
Okay. Bedtime.
I'll drive.
Did they ride to the bar together? Why did they ride to the bar together?
And the lights are on. I'm busted.
Pretty sure regardless of the lights being on or off, Agent Carter's wife would know what time he got home. Let me make this very clear. Unmarried or about to be married fellas, they know everything.
Do you want to see my room?
No, but the movie says I have to.
Its head got cut off, and I don't know where it is.
It's probably on the editor's cutting room floor, according to the evidence provided by this movie.
Even veals grow a little, and they live in a box with their legs all tied up and everything.
Veals have it pretty tough, don't they?
Movie has time for this. Pizza. Look, I don't care that Longlegs wants to be creepy here, and who knows what's going through that psychopath's head. But his ultimate goal is to drop off a birthday card with a cipher on it that will spell out a threatening message. And if the goal is to knock on the door, hope that Lee spots him in the fog in the dark, leaving the door open to walk out to confront him, also he can somehow stealthily enter the house and drop that off. I feel like Longlegs has prediction abilities that eclipse Death in Final Destination. Also, he's wasting our time. Also, I could be wrong, but I feel like whatever Lee is doing isn't exactly trained FBI agent kind of shit. Leaving the house, leaving the door open, trying to find someone out in the woods in the fog without any backup. It's almost like she knows what the movie needs for this scene. Also, why is Longlegs getting Lee clues? What is this part of his plan? Shit, why is it part of Satan's plan? Is he trying to swing a job as a CI with the FBI? This kind of cipher was found at every Longlegs murder, and the movie wants us to believe that no one could solve it until Lee came along. Unless he wrote this part right before he left the card on the desk, which would be fucking stupid, that ink shouldn't still be wet enough to smear.
Yes, Mom, I'm fine.
Character assumes who's calling and doesn't say fucking hello cliche. It follows.
We're real late on this one. Looks like the family's planning a trip. Friends assume they've gone, so no one bothered to check in on them.
We'll find out later that the family has been dead for a whole month, meaning, according to this movie's logic, this family had only one friend between the entire family, and that person was the only one who could have checked on them for an entire month.
Found plane tickets for Los Angeles and reservations for Disneyland. Sounds like a nice idea.
It does not. Disneyland around Christmas? Are you fucking insane?
How'd you figure that out?
I only looked long enough, sir.
Agent Carter accepts this answer. I'm glad to see that the newspaper, The Moon, hired Georgina Bryce on the story. I guess she moved to wherever the Morning Times is published because she was the writer on the 1985 story as well. Also, half fourth tree days fifth subdue are called. This article talks about an ongoing investigation for something that happened in 1979, but the article was written in 1983, and while that could be true, you and I both know it's not. Also, we're about to find out that all the Longlegs killings took place within 6 days of the daughter's birthday in every instance, which is always the 14th. So how the f*** are murders taking place on September 25th? Because Lee is sort of psychic and she figured out Longlegs' cipher, I guess we're now supposed to accept that she knows exactly what book to consult when testing out a wild theory about a pattern she notices. I mean, she could have written out all these dates a number of ways, but she chose the one that corresponds perfectly to this pattern in a random book, and it works. Also, that symbol has more than just a triangle in it, and there's an entirely different symbol above it in the book. How does she know that's not the symbol Longlegs is going for? Or that either of these symbols mean jack shit to the case? How is she even certain Longlegs is interested in hell? Is she getting all this from the last coded message having the term down low in it? Because that's an even bigger fucking stretch.
It's an algorithm.
Movie flies dangerously close to the plot of The January Man.
The first murder happens on July 14th, 1966. The rest occur within 6 days of the daughter's birthdays, either before or after, creating an inverted triangle.
Explaining what we literally just saw Lee do one scene later. We would have believed Lee told Agent Carter about the giant leap she made with the triangle. We didn't need to see that shit play out in real time.
Kills the priest, his wife, and then himself. Carrie Ann's at school, so she survives.
I have no idea why Longlegs gifted a doll in a situation where Carrie Ann would be at school while all the shit went down. Later we find out he wanted Lee and was unable to get her because her mom intervened. So maybe he had the same designs on Carrie Ann and this was his way of taking the parents out of the equation. But considering that we see Carrie Ann at a psychiatric hospital later, doing nothing but being a sleeper cell for the devil, I don't know what this was all about, except to give Lee an important clue for the investigation.
Look at the date.
March 8th.
Now look at Carrie Ann's birthday.
March 14th.
6 days apart.
I guess I'm supposed to figure out that the Camera family was not originally considered one of Longlegs' murders, and that including them makes the puzzle clearer, but goddamn, the movie does not make this clear. I don't need to be spoon-fed everything, but when you're relaying this much information, it would be helpful to hear the detectives connect the dots in a way that doesn't require me to make assumptions.
Water Rock Psychiatric Hospital.
It's not far from here.
132 miles, sir.
And the old farm?
89.
Almost 40 minutes in, and the movie has completely forgotten about Lee's psychic abilities and has just decided to turn her into Rain Man. 3 minutes of driving and walking to build up a bunch of tension just so they can discover a doll.
She's handmade, that's for sure.
Dolltopsy.
All in all, it's beautifully made by a highly skilled craftsman.
I say this because I am an expert coroner who also knows dollcraft.
What about the ball there?
It was inside the head, so I've been calling it the brain.
And the coroner is creeping me out with this clear obsession he has with Longlegs' creation. So I will now call him Guy Who Wants to F This Doll. Nagini!
Cuckoo.
Choosing to shout out another weird horror movie released in 2024. Everyone always talks about not being able to recognize Colin Farrell under all that makeup he has to wear to play the Penguin, and rightfully so. But it's almost just as difficult to recognize Jared Leto in this role.
You saw this visitor?
Does the guard check IDs?
Well, it does sound like a good idea, but no.
Apparently they don't require that. So are you going to ask the guard questions and see if he remembers a guy who looked like this visiting the hospital? I know they don't know what he looks like, but they could easily ask the guard and get a good idea if anything stood out about the visitor who came to see Carrie Ann that day. Also, we finally have a character full of life, and that almost makes me want to remove a sin. But he's also clearly incompetent, terrible at his job, and probably only got his position because his cousin has incriminating evidence on the CEO of the Institute. So,
You been to my house. Or someone looks lots like you anyway.
she's referring to Ruth, but even 15 years prior, I'm not buying that Alicia Witt and Micah Monroe looked enough alike for Carrie Ann to be able to make this distinction. Guys, I no longer know what's going on. I love how nearly every scene in this movie has a picture of a president, so you know what era the scene takes place. These people love Nixon enough to hang a solitary picture on their wall, with nothing else around it except a cross above the door.
Can you describe him for me?
Gosh, I don't ever want to forget him.
Apparently, Lee gets distracted during all this and never once asks the question again, and they still don't f***ing ask that guard or anyone who might have been at the hospital that day.
Like if he told me to take a jumpy out a window, I'd surely do.
Not much to say about this scene except that Kiernan Shipka is f***ing awesome in it.
She came out of her catatonia the same day we found the doll.
Yeah, that could be anything but a coincidence.
Oh, wait, what?
Longlegs is just a man hawker, not a witch doctor.
For someone who brought Lee on the case partly because of her possible psychic abilities, Agent Carter sure is quick to poo-poo any possibility of the supernatural in the Longlegs case.
She called on a police report, January 13th, 1974. That's one day before your 9th birthday. That makes your birthday the 14th.
Once Agent Carter discovered this super odd coincidence, why didn't he immediately send agents out to Ruth's house to interview her and maybe even search the premises? Starting to think Agent Carter isn't very good at his job. Maybe he should think about a change in careers, like being a lawyer in LA.
You go see your mother and tell me what she says about the person who came to your house.
Even if there's a slight chance that Lee or her mother are somehow involved in this case, isn't this enough of a conflict that Lee should be taken off of it? Or at the very least have someone else go question her mother? Guess the FBI unit in Oregon just makes up their own goddamn rules. Punch buggy!
Will you tell me the honest truth about something?
Will you tell me the honest truth about something, Ruth? Like, are you wearing a fucking quilt?
Jesus Christ, Mom.
Finding it this odd that parents keep their children's baby teeth. Wait till you see the scrapbook with your hair glued in it, Lee. Honestly, parents' ideas of keepsakes do make it seem like they're planning to perform some witchcraft at some point in their lives, now that I think about it. Did the roach that just came out from under the door eat all the cans of food sitting by the refrigerator and the cans themselves? Because these cans are no longer here.
What a day that was. I bled.
Skip!
You're not a child because you were allowed to grow up.
One super positive from this movie is that they cast Alicia Witt for this role, and she fucking nails it. We've underestimated the wit for far too long.
Cheese and crackers.
So young Lee took a picture of Longlegs, which is amazing for the investigation, but then the movie decides you don't need to see that picture for some reason, even when she shows it to Agent Carter right after this. And maybe it's not important, but it's still a weird choice. Also, this trunk that she brings home just happens to be the place she kept the Longlegs photo. The entire movie essentially relies on Lee finding this photograph in her mom's hoarding nest of a home, and she fucking finds it. She didn't even know she was looking for it. And Longlegs has been giving Lee clues the whole time, and this wasn't even anything he set up. Unbelievable!
You sure you want to start a manhunt with this?
She does, and Agent Carter will fucking let her. The way all these events unfold in the last 30 minutes of this movie is just insanity. The movie will not explain how Agent Carter went from that old photograph to finding Longlegs in the matter of no more than a day or two. I know he's distinct looking, but they had no name or anything to go by. And even if someone recognized him and knew enough to track him down, how the would anyone know he was at this bus stop?
Happy birthday, Lee Harker.
Agent Carter is making Lee watch this video with all these other agents in the room. Could she not have watched it on her own or afterwards? This scenario just seems wrong and very unprofessional. And once again, I'm not understanding why she's still allowed to be on the case.
Happy birthday, Lee Harker.
It goes on like that for a while.
For how long?
24 minutes.
What? You mean Longlegs just sits there and sings happy birthday for 24 minutes? I'm sorry, that demonstration doesn't really sell it. You turned off the video after he sang only the first couple lines. Now, if you had forwarded for a while and pressed play and he's still singing happy birthday, that would sell it. Also, the movie doesn't show us Longlegs singing happy birthday for 24 minutes.
I'm more concerned about the fact that he knows who you are, Agent Harker.
At least f***ing someone here is.
And I stood upon the sand of the sea.
Lee starts spouting a verse from Revelation with zero prompt, and it leads to a discussion about how Longlegs has an accomplice. If I know why she launches into Bible verses, but I guess it sounds cool or something.
Book of Revelations, isn't it?
Revelation. There's no S, it's singular.
Lee would be excellent at Bible sense.
We can expect his accomplice to kill at least one more family. And Cobble's the only one who knows who that is.
All right, well, both you and my daughter have a birthday tomorrow, so no way that's going to be relevant to what we're talking about. God, I love my family.
I'm a friend of a friend.
What friend?
My friend. That lives downstairs.
I assume Longlegs must be talking about Satan, but is he actually working with Satan? Or is he just nuts, or a little of both? This movie will throw in some supernatural shit with the dolls, but still never comes clean with what exactly Longlegs' power is, and why he has it, or where he got it. Maybe I shouldn't care. Just go with the horror movie got a horror mindset, but I'm me. And this fucking movie wants to be a mystery so goddamn bad, but then not actually give us any real resolution to any of the mysteries.
You can even call him Mr. Downstairs.
Longlegs has no issue screaming Hail Satan at the top of his lungs, but here with Ruth, he's being coy and ridiculous for the sake of being coy and ridiculous, I guess. Mr. Downstairs. Pfft, go f*** yourself.
There she is. The almost birthday girl.
I love Nicolas Cage. You love Nicolas Cage. We all love Nicolas Cage. But this movie, Nicolas Cage, is so hard that it ends up Nicolas Caging way too far up its own ass.
We had such a big laugh about it. Although it was only me who laughed, not she.
Longlegs frustratingly plays the pronoun game, but I guess since he's a soldier of Satan, I don't know why I expected anything less.
Accept the gift and destroy it. And destroy yourself and yourselves. Or keep it and bow down.
So we're going to find out that Lee's mom has been going to these houses with the mind control dolls, claiming they've won a prize from the church. And according to this, the choice is either accept it and destroy it, which leads to destroying everyone around you, or keep it and become a follower of Satan. And given what we've been told about the murders, I think I'm officially confused. I think in one of the flashbacks, we saw a mother stabbing the doll. But is that a required step? I'm also having trouble deciding if accepting the doll and keeping the doll have different meanings. I mean, is there a scenario where you decide, I will not kill my family, I'll just worship Satan instead? Also, Longlegs is fairly unreliable as a source of information. Whatever.
And get right down to the dirty, dirty work.
Scene mentions dirty work, but does not contain a Norman Jean MacDonald.
Hail Satan.
Longlegs will now proceed to kill himself, but why? Is it because he's been captured? But he wanted to be captured, right? Why else would he have just been standing out in the open at that bus stop? So does that mean his work is finished? But why is it finished? Because of the triangle? Is he Phil Jackson? He's Phil Jackson, isn't he? How the f*** did Lee not get any blood on her blouse?
We let all those families die.
Acting like any of this is Lee's fault. You know what? There might only be 3 of them total, but it sure does feel like we have a lot of drives up to the Harker house shots in this movie.
You didn't have to come with me.
But why didn't she? Why would they send Lee alone to bring her mother? Why would they send Lee at f***ing all? I would love to know Ruth's movements as soon as she saw the car coming up the driveway. She couldn't possibly have known who was in the car at first, and no idea that Lee would get out of the car without her partner. But as soon as she saw Lee get out of the passenger side, that means she then got a shotgun, ran out the back of the house, snuck around the perimeter of the property to avoid being seen, and expected that the person in the driver's seat would not see her when she appeared behind the car. This is a Jason Voorhees level of anticipation and stealth movement to pull this off. Feeling the need to go to the other side of the car and shoot Agent Browning again when you probably blew her head off with the first shot.
Once upon a time, there was a girl named Lee.
God damn it.
The doll maker started his work, his terrible magic, with a little bit of him in everyone.
So Longlegs is somehow transporting one of Satan's horcruxes, I think, into each of these dolls, which then somehow possesses the dad and the families, who then kill everyone in the house and then kills himself. So we've got the who and the how, but not the why. And the why isn't always important, but the way this movie structures its central mystery, I feel like the why is super important. But at some point the movie decided it wasn't important. F*** you, movie.
The devil wanted the little girl for his own, but her mother could never let that happen.
This exposition pretends to tell us everything we need to know while also raising all sorts of other questions. The devil wanted Lee, but her mom didn't allow it? What the f*** does that mean? How did she prevent it?
So her mother begged for the little girl's life to be spared. In exchange, she would have to help him.
I gather what happened here is that Ruth did not accept the gift, which is the choice that Longlegs didn't bring up during that confusing accept the gift or keep the gift discussion. But I don't get why Longlegs makes a deal with Ruth here. I guess he's just self-aware enough to realize he's too weird and gross to gift mind control dolls and hopes that people accept them willingly from someone like Ruth. But I think he said that Lee was the 7th house? Maybe he's just become tired and lazy. And now we find out Longlegs lived in Ruth's basement making his dolls. Now I'm even more irritated the FBI didn't take the initiative to search Ruth's house earlier, because then the movie would have already been over.
Penny, congratulations. You've won.
What happens now if someone rejects the gift? Do they get the same choice that Longlegs gave Ruth, or is it over at that point?
And from his hiding place within the dolls, the devil did the rest.
This seems like entirely too much work to simply kill a handful of people. From the devil's perspective, he's got to be going nuts at the inefficiency of this method.
All her mother had to do was watch.
This is as good a time as any to ask, where do the dolls go after the family is murdered? Ruth doesn't have one in her hands as she flees the murder scene. And while Longlegs says something about destroying the doll and the very choice that leads to murdering, you'd have to go a very long way to wipe all evidence of them ever being there. Perhaps Ruth hides it later, like the Carrie Ann doll during the Camera family murders. But that was presented as a unique case. Or investigators considered a lifelike doll that shows up at every Longlegs murder scene as unremarkable and made no note of it. Anyway, nothing is ever mentioned of them, and we're just supposed to assume their fate, and I'm mad. The world turned upside down. Continuing with the theme of the hanging photographs to tell you what era we're in, Ruth has a picture of President Pussy hanging up on the wall. Anyway, we'll probably bleep that for some reason, even though it's a perfectly reasonable term. Why is Lee all of a sudden getting calls telling her where the next murder will take place? And who the f*** is that even on the phone? Is that Satan? Did Lee just get a call from Satan? I think Lee just got a call from Satan. Also, did he think he was calling Ruth? Or does he know for a fact he's calling Lee here? Satan really should know who he's talking to right now. Otherwise, this is the most convenient f***ing phone call since Sarah Connor tried calling her roommate after the Terminator mistakenly blew her away.
She's Cobble's accomplice.
Sit down! Holy shit! I think Carter's been learning the voice from Dune in his spare time. Makes sense, considering he's been spending time with Alia Atreides.
I'm so sorry. I'll be right back.
No, I'll be right back. You'll still be in the kitchen.
Wink, wink. I see what you mean. You're saying it's very important to nitpick trivialities when you're about to murder your wife.
And so I'll do it again. And again. And again.
But not anymore, right? Now that Longlegs is dead, how the f*** do you deliver dolls to anyone anymore? Honestly, you know, who gives a shit? Just so we're clear, Lee was well aware that Carter was going to the kitchen to murder his wife, and she is doing nothing about it. Shrug. Oh well, guess there's no way to destroy the mind control doll now. Anyway, Ruby, let's go get you some ice cream. And holy shit, am I in a lot of trouble that I'll never be able to explain.
Hail Satan. What happens at 5?
For those here, I think you'll find the presentation interesting as well as very, very stimulating.
Door. Mother. Father. Piano.
Sorry, this isn't your lucky day.
Take a nice long look.
I love the pictures. How do I subscribe?
Go ahead, Arthur.
Got this lion. He's the king of the jungle. Huge mane out there. He's laying down under a tree in the middle of Africa. He's so big. He's so hot.
Is it scary being a lady FBI agent?
You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
All your days are belong to us.